Hare Krishna, thank you for joining us today. Today we will be talking about two very special, very important groups of temples in Kerala. The first group of temples is known as the Naalambalam. The word Naal in Malayalam meaning four, the number four, and Ambalam meaning temple. So the name literally means four temples. These are temples dedicated to Lord Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna. And the second group of temples that we will talk about today are the Pancha Pandava Kshetrams, or 5 temples for Lord Vishnu, established by the Pandava brothers. One of these temples we already spoke about last week, which was the Aranmula Sri Parthasarathi temple established by Arjuna. We'll briefly talk about the other 4 temples established by Yudhishthira, Nakula, Bhima, and Sahadeva. So let me share my screen. We will start with the Naalambalam temples. Is my screen visible to all the devotees?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I would like to begin with a small verse, the Ekashloki Ramayanam, which my maternal aunt taught me. So here it goes. Purvam Rama Tapovanadi Gamanam Hatva Mrigam Kanchanam Vaidehi Haranam Jatayu Maranam Sugriva Sambhasanam Vali Nigrahanam Samudrataranam Lankapuri Dahanam Paschadravana Kumbhakarnahananam Etadhi Ramayanam. So the meaning of these words is as follows. Purvam Rama Tapovanadi Gamanam. Meaning, Sri Rama first went on 14 years of exile into the forests, blessed by the penance of many divine sages and devotees, and hence called Tapovanam, not just any ordinary forest. Along with Devi Sita and Lakshmana, Hatva Mrigam Kanchanam. Sri Rama killed the demon Maricha in the guise of a golden deer. Vaidehi Haranam Jatayu Maranam. The demon Ravana kidnapped Devi Sita, also known as Vaidehi, and cut off the wings of the divine vulture king or eagle king called Jatayu, which led to Jatayu's eventual death. Sugriva Sambhasanam. Having met his foremost devotee Hanuman, Sri Rama made the acquaintance of the Vanara king or the monkey king Sugriva. Vali Nigrahanam. Sri Rama killed the Vanara Vali, who was the brother of Sugriva, who had wrongfully snatched away the kingdom from Sugriva and had also abducted Sugriva's wife. Samudra Taranam. Sri Rama then crossed the mighty ocean on a bridge built by scores of devoted Vanaras. Lankapuri Dahanam. Hanuman set fire to the entire city of Lanka when the demon king Ravana had Hanuman's tail wrapped in oil-soaked cloth and set to fire. So Hanuman thought, okay, let me set fire to his whole city. Who does he think he's playing with? And Paschat Ravana Kumbhakarna Hananam. Sri Rama then finally killed the demons Ravana and his brother Kumbhakarna, who were in fact Jaya and Vijaya, the divine gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. By a divine ordainment or by a divine order, they took birth thrice on earth. So the first birth they took was as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So as Hiranyaksha, Jaya or Vijaya, either of them, Lord Vishnu appeared as Varaha to kill Hiranyaksha. Then he appeared as Narasimha to kill Hiranyakashipu. He then appeared as Rama to destroy Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And finally, when Jaya and Vijaya took birth as Shishupala and a demon called Dantavaktra in the Dwapara Yuga, the Lord appeared as Krishna to destroy both of them and deliver them so that they could go back to their original position as Jaya and Vijaya. And lastly, Etadhi Ramayanam. Thus is the most sacred Ramayana, the song of glory of Bhagwan Sri Ramachandra. So, the first temple in the Naalambalam is the Triprayar Sri Rama Temple. The presiding deity is Sri Rama. He appears tall and magnificent, holding a shankha, a chakra, a kodanda, as his bow was called, and akshamala, which is a garland of prayer beads, an akshamala or a japamala. The deity is very ancient and is referred to in the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as the Narada Puranam. It is believed that on continuously hearing the recitation of the Srimad Ramayanam at Kailasa, where Lord Shiva resides with Devi Parvati, Lord Ganesha, Kartikeya, and all the Bhutaganas, all his attendants, Devi Ganga, who resides in Lord Shiva's locks of hair, wished to serve the Lord as Sri Rama. Her wish was fulfilled when the Lord began to reside at the Triprayar temple on the banks of the river Tivra. So the river on the banks of which the temple stands is believed to be a manifestation of the holy river Ganga. The deity of Sri Rama was handed over by Lord Mahavishnu to Brahma, who then passed it on to Prajapati Sutapa and his wife Prishni. They in turn continued to worship the deity even when they took birth as Devi Aditi and Maharshi Kashyapa. This same deity of Lord Rama was also worshipped by Maharaja Dasharatha, who was Sri Rama's father, and also by Vasudeva and Devi Devaki, and then eventually by Sri Krishna himself, by Sri Krishna and Rukmini. So this is how the deity was passed on and on and on. We have seen mention of Prajapati Sutapa and Prishni in relation to the legend of origin of the Guruvayur temple as well, because we know that the deity of Guruvayurappan, who is worshipped in Guruvayur temple today, was also personally handed over by Lord Mahavishnu to Lord Brahma, and then passed on to Prajapati Sutapa and Prishni, and then when they appeared as Kashyapa and Aditi, and then finally when they appeared as Vasudeva and Devaki. Now, earlier when we were talking about the Padmanabha Swami temple at Thiruvananthapuram, we saw how Bilvamangalam Swamiyar came to the forest surrounding the now present Ananta Padmanabha Swami temple. And the forest was then known as Anantan Kadu, or the forest of the divine serpent, Ananta. So, Bilvamangalam Swamiyar happened to visit Triprayar as well, the location of this Sri Rama temple. And here he saw he happened to see Devi Lakshmi or Sri Devi and Bhudevi or Mother Earth both worshipping Lord Sri Rama. And therefore, the Swami are installed deities of Sri Devi and Bhudevi on either side of the Lord in the sanctum sanctorum itself. And he instructed those managing the temple or taking care of the temple that the western entrance should be closed and never opened again. So ever since, these goddesses, Sri Devi, that is Devi Lakshmi, and Bhudevi, have always been by the sides of the Lord. The Krishna Paksha Ekadashi, or the Ekadashi that occurs in the darker fortnight of the Malayalam month of Vrishchikam, which is mid-November to mid-December, is celebrated as Triprayar Ekadashi. The most important offerings at this temple are Meenuttu, which is feeding the fish in the Triprayar river. So there are offerings of rice, I think, as far as I remember, in small, very small plates or cups, and the devotees can take them and just drop it in the river. And it's very nice to see all the fish gathering together at that point to accept the rice offerings that the devotees give. And another important offering at this temple is Vedi Varipadu. Vedi meaning firework and Varipadu meaning offering. So Vedi Varipadu meaning an offering of setting off traditionally made fireworks, a very unique offering present at some temples in Kerala. The next temple in this group of 4 temples is the Murikulam Sri Lakshmana Swami, or the Murikulam Sri Lakshmana Perumal temple. And this temple is situated on the banks of the Chalakudi river. It is about 40 kilometers away from Triprayar. And this temple is one among the 108 Divya Deshams, which are highly respected by followers of the Sri Vaishnava tradition in the south of Bharata. The presiding deity here is the 4-armed Sri Mahavishnu, standing very tall, holding a Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. And here the Lord is worshipped as Lakshmana, a very rare temple where the Lord is worshipped in the Lakshmana form. Here the Lord appears very powerful, very majestic, in the mood of Lakshmana, who stood ready to defend Sri Rama and Devi Sita during their forest exile at Chitrakoot, assuming that an army was coming to attack them all. And when in fact it wasn't any army coming to attack them, it was in fact Bharata, who upon returning to Ayodhya, when we know that when Sri Rama was sent on exile, and when Devi Sita and Lakshmana accompanied him, Bharata and Shatrughna were not present in Ayodhya. They had been staying with Bharata's maternal uncle at Kekaya, which is where Bharata's mother Kaikeyi came from. And so, and when Bharata returned, he was shocked to learn the manner in which Lord Rama had gone to the forest on exile. And because Lord Rama was so dear to him, Bharata immediately took an entire army, and he proceeded to the forest to plead with Lord Rama to please come back and rule Ayodhya, because he and only he was the rightful king. So this is the Tirumurikulam Sri Lakshmana Perumal temple. There is another story which or account which says that towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga, there was a sage by the name Harita who performed very intense penance and meditation, praying to Lord Vishnu for his blessings. And the Lord, the very merciful Lord, he appeared and blessed the Maharshi and uh, imparted the wisdom of the Vedas and all that a human being would need to do to escape from the evil influence of the age of Kali. So the word Mori in Malayalam means words or spoken words, words that are spoken. So, and because those words of wisdom were spoken by the Lord, it became Tiru Mori. So the place where the Lord spoke these words of wisdom came to be known as Tiru Mori Kalam. And later on, the name got modified to become Tirumurikulam. And the next temple is the Kodal Manikim Sri Bharata temple. Very, very rare. I don't think there is any other temple in Bharat which is exclusively devoted to the worship of the Lord as Bharata.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. Very
It's
good.
a very beautiful temple, Prabhuji. It's beautiful. It's huge and it's very, very beautiful. And of course, photos do not do it justice at all. This photograph of the deity is, of course, an artistic representation. It's a painting because we know deities cannot be photographed. And the presiding deity here is, as we can see, Sri Mahavishnu. Again, the deity is quite tall, holding a shankha, chakra, a bow, and a japa mala or a garland of prayer beads. And the Lord is said to be in the mood of Bharata, who is very relieved at hearing the news of Sri Rama and Devi Sita having finally reached the outskirts of Ayodhya after 14 years of exile. So we know that when Lord Rama said that, no, I must complete these 14 years of exile to honor the words of my father, to honor the promise that my father made. And because Bharata did not have the heart to go and sit on the throne and rule the kingdom in place of his brother Sri Rama, whom he loved so much and respected so much, what Bharata did was he accepted Lord Rama's holy sandals, holy footwear, padukas, and he placed them on the throne at Ayodhya and symbolically ruled or administered the kingdom on Lord Rama's behalf, but he himself never ever sat on the throne. And in fact, I think, if I'm not wrong, he stayed at a village called Nandigram on
Yes.
the outskirts of Ayodhya.
Yes.
And I think he waited there for all of those 14 years until Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana came back. And when Hanuman gave him the news that the Lord has arrived, he was so very relieved. And the Lord here at this temple in Kodal Manikim is believed to be in that happy mood. So it is believed. So this temple is situated in a district called Iringalakura. And so this place was once a very dense forest where a number of sages led by Maharshi Kulipini performed a great fire sacrifice or a great yagya to please Lord Vishnu. So the merciful Lord agreed, he appeared in front of them and he agreed to forever stay at the place in answer to their prayers. And the sages also then, they prayed to the divine river Ganga to bless the sacred land with her presence. And in response, a large number of springs, water springs, they just sprouted from the land and covered the entire area in water. So the sages then immersed themselves in these waters and thereby attained the Lord's feet. The most important pond, so there are 4 ponds in the temple premises. 3 of them are outside the temple boundaries. One is within the walls of the temple. And this is the most important, the most respected, the most sacred pond, and is known as Kulipini Tirtham in honor of Maharshi Kulipini. This pond is not open to the public, and the water from this pond is used for temple rituals and to make naivedyam or food offerings for the Lord. The legend behind how these temples themselves came to be established is that there were 4 idols, 4 very divine idols that got washed up on the seashore. I'm not sure which place exactly in Kerala, but they were washed up on the seashore, and it was some fishermen living in the area who happened to see these idols floating in the water and recovered them. And it is also said that a local chieftain, a local leader, had a dream about these 4 divine idols having been recovered. And when he went and met the local fishermen, indeed, those 4 deities were found. And realizing the importance and realizing the extreme divinity of these deities, they were duly installed at these 4 places, these 4 temples that we are talking about today. Now, how did the name Kodal Manikim come about? It's a very interesting pastime. So it is believed that one day a brilliant red glow began emanating from the forehead of this deity of Bharata. And it was so bright, no one had ever seen such a light before. And someone, now imagine testing the Lord's power, what a blunder that is. They wish to identify the source of this brilliance. Oh, I want to know why this light has appeared all of a sudden. I want to know where this is coming from. So it is said that they brought along a very large red ruby stone and actually placed it close to the deity, against trying to compare the glow of the ruby against the glow that was emanating from the deity's forehead. The power of that glow coming from the deity was so very great that the ruby immediately merged with the deity. It just disappeared in front of their eyes. It merged with the deity, and thus giving the name Kodal Manikim. Kodal meaning to merge, and Manikim meaning ruby. The name Sangameshwara, the deity here is also known as Sangameshwara. This name also, in a way, relates to this legend because the word Sangam means union. And Ishvara is, of course, the Lord. And therefore, the name Sangameshwara. But another interpretation could be that this deity holds the power of all deities in the universe put together. Lotus garlands are a very, very important offering at this temple. Also, naivedyam, or a food offering made of brinjals. I don't know the reason, but it is very rare, very typical of this temple. Food offering or naivedyam made of brinjal is also a very important offering here. And mukkadi. Now, Mukudi is a mixture of divine medicinal herbs mixed in curd. And it's a very special offering. I think it is given only once a year. I'm not sure, I'll have to check. But this offering, if when consumed by devotees, is known to cure all ailments, especially those of the stomach. I remember having the Mukudi prasadam when we visited this temple. It was many years ago. I forget which year it was, but we felt so blessed that we were able to have that prasadam. And finally, the last of these four very beautiful temples is the Payammal Sri Shatrughna temple. The presiding deity here is Sri Mahavishnu, holding a Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. And here he is worshipped as Shatrughna, the destroyer of enemies. And here it is said that Bharata and Shatrughna are manifestations of Sri Mahavishnu's divine weapons, the Shankha and the Chakra, respectively. So Bharata is said to be a manifestation of the Lord's Shankha, and Shatrughna is said to be a manifestation of the Sudarshana Chakra. Therefore, worship of the Sudarshana Chakra or Sudarshana Pushpanjali is a very, very important offering at this temple, and it is given utmost importance here for eradication of all kinds of obstacles, all kinds of hurdles. The Lord here, present as Shatrughna, is said to be in the mood of readiness to destroy the demon Lavanasura. So in the Ramayana, we come across an account of Shatrughna destroying a demon called Lavanasura and thereby bringing much needed relief to the people and devotees who had until then been troubled very much by that demon. So these are the four temples, the Naalambalam temples.
Very beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Didn't even know about them.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We have been to, I think as far as I know, only two of these temples, Triprayar and Kodal Manikim, the temple for Bharata, Rama and Bharat. We haven't been to the other two. In Kerala, the month starting, so according to the traditional calendar, which is Indian calendar in general, and especially in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, the traditional Indian month begins sometime around the 14th, 15th, 16th, or 17th of each English month and continues on to the corresponding date in the next English month. So mid-July to mid-August. So it's usually 17th July to 16th August. That month is known as the Karkataka month in Kerala. It is also called the Ramayana Masam, or a month devoted exclusively to the worship of Lord Rama, because it occurs bang in the middle of the monsoons. And we know the monsoons bring a lot of different ailments. It is generally not, although rains are much required, the season in general is not very conducive to the general health and well-being. So to purify the mind and the body and the soul, that month in Kerala is called the Ramayana Masam. It is devoted to worship of Lord Rama, listening to the Ramayana or chanting verses from the Ramayana, singing Lord Rama's bhajans, and a tour or a visit to these 4 temples. So the ones at Tripurayar, Murikulam, Kodal, Manikim, and Payamal. These 4 temples, as I mentioned, are collectively called the Naalambalam. So the Naalambalam Yatra is considered to be the most auspicious thing that a devotee can do in this Ramayana Masam. So it is very popular amongst devotees in Kerala. And visiting them, especially in the course of one single day, is considered to be very, very auspicious. So devotees who really want to, who are committed to doing this yatra, they start very early in the morning, and by evening or night, they complete visiting all the 4 temples. So that,
and that is by car, they would have to journey?
It depends. So now these transport these days is quite easy. The connectivity in Kerala by bus and or by bus is usually more convenient for these temples rather than train. Bus or private transport, whatever the devotees can arrange. These 3 temples, that is Tripurayar, Kodal, Manikim, and Payamal. So the temples for Ram, Shatrugna, and Bharat. These temples are quite relatively closer to each other. So Tripurayar is about 25 kilometers away from Guruvayur. So if you are at Guruvayur, you can take a bus. It takes about just under an hour to reach Tripurayar. From Tripurayar, Kodal Manikim, the temple for Bharata, is about 20 to 22 kilometers. And Payamal is very close to the temple for Bharata. It's just about 7 kilometers. So these 3 are quite close to each other. The temple for Lakshmana is a bit far. Although numerically the distance of 30 kilometers is not very much comparatively, but I think it's because it's in a totally different direction that it is further removed. So ideally it is said that one should visit the Rama temple first and then go to visit Lakshmana and then Bharata and Shatrugna in that order. But because these 3 temples, Ram, Bharat, and Shatrugna, they are closer, devotees usually visit these 3 temples first and then they visit the Lakshmana temple at the end.
He always gets left out anyway. He's used to it.
He did not want to. Isn't that why he accompanied the Lord?
And in terms of the worship of these temples, is this done by the devotees from the Ramanuja or the Shri Sampradaya?
No, the worship is traditionally done by the Nambudiri priests of Kerala. The Sri Sampradaya, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya followers in the south of Bharat, they, of course, they dedicate themselves completely to the worship of Lord Vishnu in his various forms. And the 108 Divya Deshams, or that I keep talking about, these are temples for Lord Vishnu spread all across Bharat. And out of those 108, I think about 11 or 13 of them are in Kerala. The others are most of them are in Tamil Nadu. Some of them are in Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. And yeah, I haven't gone through the complete list of 108, but about 11 or 13 devotees do come. Devotees from all across India, whether it's no matter where they are from, whether they are from Kerala or whether they are from Tamil Nadu, they do come. But the worship is primarily in the traditional Kerala manner.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else? Any questions for Shruti about these temples?
Any questions? Any suggestions? Any feedback? Anything that you would like to ask? Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. I've learned a lot of things. Really nice trip along Kerala as usual that you're presenting. Just want to share something. The Ek Shloki Ramayan.
Yeah.
My mother used to sing that.
Wow.
She had learned it from her father, and normally when our relatives or the people here they recite Ramayan, they do recite this verse in the beginning. I, I would share that I didn't know the meaning of it, and now I've understood what it means. So thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that, Karuna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
that's
you.
really very good. Very, very impressive.
And even my mother didn't know the meaning. I did ask her once, but she didn't know. She just said that it's a bhajan that we sing when we do Ramayana. That's all.
Mm.
So thank you.
Thank you. It's a very beautiful verse. Of course, trying to capture the complete essence of the Ramayana in one single verse is no small task, but it at least it captures the main events or the main episodes that form the Ramayana. Okay, Prabhuji, if it's okay, my
Yes.
nephew Anand from Mumbai, he is also listening to the session today. He would like to offer a small bhajan in service of Lord Rama.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anand, can you show yourself?
Yeah.
Hi, Anand. Hare Krishna.
Hi. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Say Hare Krishna to
Hare
everyone.
Krishna all.
Hare Krishna. Welcome, Anand.
Yeah, welcome.
Anand, you can start now. You can start singing.
I am starting. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Paduman Karana Bhava Tarunam Navakanjalochana Kanjamukha Kara Kanjapada Kanjarunam Shri Ram Shri Ram Kandarpa Ganita Mita Chabinavani Nirada Sundaram Patapitamaanahutaditaruchi Suchinam Vijanakasutavaram Shri Ram Shri Ram Bhajati Nabandhu Dinesh Danavataityavancha Kanjanam Raghunandananda Kanda Kosala Chanda Dasaratanandaram Shri Ram Shri Ram Chira Mukutta Kundala Tiraka Charu Daru Sharam Ajanu Bhuj Shar Chapadar Sangrama Chita Karadushanam Shri Ram Shri Ram Iti Padati Tulasi Dasa Sankara Sesam Manaranjana Mama Hridaya Kanja Nivasa Guru Kamadi Kaladala Ganjanam Shri Ram Shri Ram Manjahira Chehu Sobaru Sahaj Sundar Savaro Karuna Nidana Sujanu Shilu Sunehu Jana Taravaro Sri Ram Sri Ram Ehi पाति गौरी शीश सुनि सिय तहि तहियर सियली तुलसी महामुनि पूज पुनि मुनि पूज पुनि पुनि तमन मंदिर चले श्री राम श्री राम. That's all.
Well done. Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Anand. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
Very good boy. Who has taught you that?
Yeah, my mom.
Your mom.
Yeah.
Okay. We did her proud. Well done. Very good.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I was thinking, Shruti, that you planning to cover another few temples.
Yeah, it won't take much time. Or
Or
sorry,
you can do next week if you like and take a little extra time on those temples.
that
Yeah.
would be okay. I don't mind.
No need to rush.
I could probably do a little more research and pick a few more details that I may otherwise have missed out on.
Yeah, and we will get the benefit of that. Yes, that's a good idea.
Thank you for suggesting that.
No, thank you. Thank you for giving that presentation, because it's temples which we would never even have heard about, let alone gone and seen them. But even by seeing the photos, that is very good. So it's good to have knowledge of that, at least some cursory knowledge. And then whenever we are in Kerala, then that opportunity will be there, hopefully, that we can visit these temples. At least we know about them. The only temples in Bharat of Bharat and Shatrughan as well, probably, and Lakshman. I don't think Lakshman has a temple, does he?
I don't think they are very rare.
Very
Of
rare,
course,
yeah.
there are all forms of Lord Vishnu, but the forms that are usually worshipped are either child Krishna who is holding butter in his hands or playing the flute, or it is Krishna along with Radha or Rukmini, or the Lord in his original four-armed Mahavishnu form. So yeah, these temples where the deity Sankalpa or the deity conception as Lakshman or Bharat and Shatrughna, they are very rare. I think these may be the only temples where worship is done in that form, that manner.
Really good.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, so are there any questions or any comments for Shruti at all?
Any questions? Anything you would like to suggest? Any feedback for me?
Excellently presented anyway. Very good. Very articulately done. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
We can go do the Nishinga Kavach. So let me just get it up. That's it.